Hello and welcome to BizQuik. I'm Corey.
And I'm Julie.
And on the podcast today, we have David Furin out of Hibbing, Minnesota. He is a retired entrepreneur, and he is going to talk to us about exit strategies and his business life in general. Welcome, David.
That's right. You're listening to BizQuik. This is where Julie and Corey provide quick and useful information to small business owners. BizQuik is the podcast where small business owners get to showcase their businesses and receive expert advice and guidance in areas many entrepreneurs struggle with. And you, the listener, get solutions, tips, and tricks on real-world topics that many small business owners face. Julie and Corey are the experts small businesses hire when they need solutions. And the BizQuik podcast is just one way they deliver those solutions. Let's start the show.
Hi, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. And you?
Good. Feeling a little under the weather. So Corey's going to take most of the conversation today just to kind of save my voice a little bit. But yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, David, tell us about your past there in the, entrepreneur small business world. What did you do?
Well, I was in the welding and steel fabricating business. We were located in Hibbing. We have, there's a substantial mining industry that's up in Hibbing. So a lot of our product, or a lot of what we were into, evolved around, the mining company needs. Mining is a pretty rough and tumble business. So there's a lot of wear, and they break a lot of things. But our business was mostly not on the heavy equipment, the actual mining end. Our business was based in and around the processing plants. So we were more into, the processing equipment that was in the plants, not the big shovels and trucks and that sort of thing.
And how did you get into that? Did you start that, or did you take over a company?
No, myself and my partner, a fellow by the name of Dan Shea, started the business from scratch. We started in April of 1979. And we actually started in my dad's garage. And the first expansion that the business had was a big tarp over the driveway to the garage.
That's great. So you started just fabricating parts in your dad's garage, and then you grew it into, how large were you in terms of like employees or, whatever?
We had as many as 35 employees, but I guess consistently we ran about 28. 28 was our constant number. So we were a small fabricator.
Sure. And then the big thing that we want to talk about today is obviously the exit strategy. So you built a business from 1979 until when did you eventually get out?
I sold, or I should say we sold, my partner and I sold all of our stock in December of 12. And we had a 4-year employment contract. And, so I guess, we were still on the payroll till December of 16.
Oh, okay. So you were like, you cashed out in 2012, but you were still working until 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if you'd really call it working. I think it was more like practice retirement for those 4 years, because the people that bought our equity, they knew the business. So, they didn't have to rely on us for too much. So that was a nice thing about it also.
So what did that operating agreement really look like?
You mean as far as when we sold the business?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll get into the actual sale here in a second, but yeah,
Well, okay. Since day one, my partner and I, we had a operating agreement, or buy-sell agreement, as I refer to it. And, we were a C corporation. So, annually we'd sit down at year end and set the value of our stock, which basically comes, there's many different ways to formulate a business's value, as but the reality of it is that like with a partnership like that, you know, what each partner would be willing to pay. You know, should there be a death or somebody wants to get out, or, you know, so that value has to be set, you know, annually. So, you know, we had that in place. And oddly enough, before we sold the business, or before we put the wheels in motion, you know, we had hired a consultant to come in, you know, just because, hey, maybe we're way off on this thing. And the consultant's number was exactly where we were at, what it was worth, you know. So, you know, that was kind of an interesting, you know, an interesting fun fact that, you know, the experts saw it the same way that, you know, that we did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you kind of kick yourself.
That's impressive. Like,
why did we just pay this guy?
Yeah. But along those lines too, you know, and I'll just say that we could have sold our business for much more than what we sold it for. Okay. And, you know, had we, you know, there's some private equity firms that were running around, and we even got contacted, you know, by a couple different ones that, you know, we could have sold it for more money. But the other thing is that it would have tied us into the business for a longer duration of time, you know, and we worked, you know, 30 some odd years. You know, it comes to a point where, you know, you just enough and you'd like to kick back or go do something else. Would you like to know how we handled the sale or what?
Of course.
I want to
Yeah.
jump in with a quick question though. Before, I wanted to ask if you and your business partner, I think you said his name was Dan.
Yes.
Were you and Dan in alignment all the way along for when it was time to sell, or was there some conversations that had to occur?
Oh yes. Yeah. No, we were pretty much in line. Dan was 2 years younger than I was, you know, so I, you know, looking at the Social Security retirement thing, you know, I was, you know, I'd get there 2 years before Dan, but, oh no, we talked about it. And, you know, and that's what was really invaluable about having that buy-sell agreement that was up to date annually, you know, because when we started the discussions, you know, I would say, you know, Dan, this is what I think we should do, you know, unless, you know, you want to just buy me out at that particular time, and then you can go on and do it. And no, he was in total agreement with what we were doing. And the two employees that we sold to, you know, those boys had a lot of sweat equity into the business also. You know, I mean, they were good employees, they were key employees. And, you know, like I said, they had sweat equity in it. So, I mean, kind of a nice opportunity for them too.
Did when you and Dan initially started the business, and I know that, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whenever it was that you actually started it, you probably didn't have the, you know, exit strategy in mind. But as you grew, like as you like made your company, did you have regular conversations about like how you would want to exit, what you would sell for, why you would sell, that type of stuff?
Oh, yes. Yeah, certainly we did. And, you know, what we would sell for, like all along through the whole deal was, you know, what we had in our buy-sell agreement.
So every year the buy-sell agreement would get updated?
Yes. Yes.
So you would essentially do an evaluation on the business annually for what it was worth?
Yeah. And it's not, no, it's not that finite, you know, where when we had the consultant come in, you know, I mean, that was pretty finite. You know, he went through a lot of things. Dan and I would basically sit down over a cup of coffee and, well, what do you think? Well, you know, we bought this newer, or we, you know, or we picked up this, and, you know, the business has grown by this much. And yeah, it was just, but, you know, we were very, very active in the business. So we always had a pretty good seat off the pants feel for what it was worth. You know what I'm saying? Now, buy-sell agreements are very, very important. You know, and it's important that they're maintained, because you could have a particular situation where, well, okay, let's say it's Dan and I, and geez, you know, I was to tip over or something, and you know, Dan has a buy-sell agreement that's maybe 2 years old or 3 years old, and Virginia would come along, that's my wife, and say, hey, no, this thing is worth more than this. And, then enter attorneys and, you kind of mucked up. I had just a sideline to that. I'm a member of a hunting club, a duck club. And we had an individual that passed away, and he had a large estate. And at the time, it was US Bank that was handling the estate. And this hunting camp involved lakeshore, it involved outbuildings, and our stock value was very, very low because that camp, when it was started in the 30s, it was started and set up to perpetuate. And if we would have never had our annual meeting and our stock value when this gentleman passed, US Bank, because they would have to do due diligence to the family, but also to the IRS. If we wouldn't have had the documentation on what that stock value was, it would have been a mess. So buy, sells, and to keep them current I can't stress that enough. They're very important.
Yeah, I'm curious on the buy sell agreement. Like if you also took into consideration as part of arriving at that sort of the price, right? Essentially the value of the business, what it's worth, what you would sell it for. Did you look at like the, your customer list? Did you look at like the processes and how they were, how defined your processes were and all of the components of the business? Or what went into determining the price that you guys would list each year when you reviewed the buy sell agreement?
Well, I think, I kind of touched on it a little bit, where the business had gone in the last year. As far as any processes or things that were proprietary to our business or items like that, we really didn't pull that into consideration. But that's not to say that you can't do that. This is just what we did. And I think the other thing too is that when you come down to doing an internal, over 30 some years, naturally this business had a lot of assets, so it's pretty hard for in these modern times, banks play pretty close to the vest, especially when you're talking business loans. They like to see a huge downstrike or at least a lot of cash on hand that the individuals that are purchasing the business would have. And so an evaluation, it's got to be a number that the financial people can live with too, if you're passing it on.
Absolutely. And you have to think about, the number that everyone is good with it. And that's where part of where that operating agreement comes in. It becomes so important, right? Because the operating agreement, the buy sell agreement, because you need to be in alignment with your business partner, or you're in a world of hurt when it comes time to sell. If you think it's a good price and your business partner does not, or partners, people have a good lesson in there too, because I think there's probably been, right now, the thought of exiting companies, there's a lot of people buying up and a lot of people selling companies, right? So understanding how that all works is important. And I think a lot of people, we've talked with a number of people who don't understand how to get the right value on their business, right? They don't know, like, well, what would it be selling for? Everyone's always concerned with the multiplier. What's the right multiplier for our business? And well, here's how you look at it, right? But a lot of folks don't understand that, and they assume because they're so personally invested that the value of the business is significantly higher than it usually is.
Oh, Julie, you couldn't be more right. And not that number is wrong, but the key is that where's the buyer? Where's the buyer at that number? I remember we were sitting in a meeting when we were kicking this all off, and we had, our personal financial planner there, who also took care of the needs of the business as far as insurance and everything. We had our CPA there, and we had our banker there. And when my business partner, Dan, and I said, well, this is the number that we have on the business. The personal financial guy choked on his coffee. The accountant, his eyes kind of bugged out. And he says, both of them said, you can get more for this business, because they were, looking at different formulas, and I said, great, where's the buyer? And then they sort of went calm. And the banker, he never said anything because he knew the number was a workable number.
I'm laughing to myself right now because I'm thinking that's how you're from a small town. I can't imagine a situation in which a banker's coming into that meeting. Can you, Corey?
No, not at all. But I want to pause the conversation for a quick minute. We're going to have a commercial break real quick, and then I'm going to come back with a question for you about how you valued your business. Hey everyone, we wanted to tell you about our latest course, Foundation 52, that will be available on February 15th. This course is built to provide tools and techniques every week of the year and is designed to improve your small business. If you're thinking about starting a business, this is a great resource for you as well. We walk you through sales, customer service, disaster planning, growth strategies, and so much more. Head on over to SB Pace to sign up today. And we're back. So Julia touched on processes and other stuff prior to this, and then we had talked about valuing your business. How much of your business was you, and how much of it was what you had in place? Like, if I were to buy your business, am I losing David's touch? Am I losing his personality, or is this, it doesn't matter. It's transactional.
Well, I'm going to answer this as honestly as I possibly can. I think that there was a time, in the beginning when David's touch was very essential to the business. But as time went on, David did a real good job of hiring people that were probably smarter than David. And I kept those people. So I had key people in place, as far as, technical people, engineering people, drafting people, design people. And so as time went on, David was not the essential cog that he once was.
And how did you manage through that? Because I know a lot of small business owners have a problem giving up that control.
It gets to a point with the type of business that we were in, it gets to a point where you have to, if you're going to grow the business, okay, you have to share the load with some other people. Otherwise, because there's only so much one individual or two individuals or three individuals can do, when it comes to the technical aspects of our business. So for us to grow, a lot of that responsibility had to be, turned over to other people. So, what we had is we had like 5-6 project managers that would, handle each particular job, that were capable of doing estimating and were capable of doing design work. So,
did you see any kind of decline in business after you officially sold? Was it seamless?
Yeah, it was seamless. I mentioned that we were located, in a mining region. So, probably I'm going to say 70 to 75% of our sales were mining related. The remainder of our sales would, was commercial structural steel, clinics, banks, just steel required for commercial construction. I got to back up now. Did I see a decline? No, but the market that we served, or the industry that we served, was very cyclical. That industry would roll up and down, and that was a constant. So you'd have up cycles and down cycles. And that's the way that mining is. And when you're looking at it being 75% of your sales, you have to roll with those ups and downs.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julie.
Okay. I was going to say, do you have a question there? I'm curious about your thoughts on what business owners could do today that may look very similar to the strategy or the approach that you used when you guys were running your business, and then, consistently thinking about the exit, right? So there's this great book that is, I think it's Begin with the End in Mind or something like that, where it specifically talks about the importance of thinking about when you're starting a business, what is the end of that business look like, whether it be you dissolve it, you sell it, you continue to work on some capacity, you sell it to a stranger, whatever. There's a variety of options, but because of the time that we're in, right, with COVID and so many small business owners having problems, are there things that you think people aren't doing now that just have sort of been lost along the way for regular things that you looked at with your business that helped you to be able to exit from it with ease? Because it sounds like it was a pretty easy transaction for you guys once you decided we're selling and here's what it's going to look like.
Yeah, it was very easy, but it does take some planning. Like I said, in the years that we were in business, you get to the end run, the business had a lot of assets. And so one of the things is that, how does these key employees, come up with the capital, So one of the things that we did, like when we were in those up cycles, we would bonus those employees heavily. And so in essence, Julie, the capital funds that they had that enabled them to go to the bank and take out a loan was actually, money that we seeded them. We'd give them a large bonus year end and say, okay, here's the deal. You can take this much of this money and it's mad money, do whatever you want, but you better put away this much, when the time comes, you guys have to have a good downstroke on the loan. So by giving them that seed money, whatever our business was worth, whatever that number was, between those two individuals, they already had 20% ownership is in stock, before they ever went to the bank. They already had 20% ownership of the company.
And you had that, like, was that just like something built into their contract, or did you, was this?
Well, we were very trusting individuals, and these two employees were very, very trustworthy too. So we sat down, we said, hey, this is going to be the game plan. We're going to bonus you guys up, but then, you're going to turn that money back to the company and we'll give you stock, and that's how we got them there with 20% ownership. And then the other thing about that too is that, there's many different ways to sell the businesses, as you guys know, but the way that we did it, and what my partner and I, why we like the idea, is that we would not, if we were carrying paper or if we were carrying the financing on that business, and we were there for 30 some odd years, they might make decisions that maybe we wouldn't be in total agreement with. And we wanted to eliminate any over the shoulder looking, going, oh, I don't know if I'd do it that way, because we still would have had a financial stake in it. The way that we did it is that they were able to buy us out entirely. And, then they make their own decisions, and we didn't have to second guess anything that they were making, any decisions they were making.
So was that part of the overall strategy when you came up with the buy price, was that you lowered that price a little bit, knowing that for 4 years they were going to continue to pay you and Dan a salary, but you weren't really going to be working, so you sort of took a portion of it over 4 years?
No, we did not. They said it was, they had healthy bonuses with the agreement that they would buy stock with a majority of the bonus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, as far as tweaking the price, no. And the buy sell, no, we never did that.
So one thing that a lot of people who we've spoken with, small business owners, they do not, like, their business is their baby. And knowing that you're going to have to give your baby up. That was, 30 years of building a brand, a name, whatever it was. How hard was it for you to walk away from that?
It wasn't hard. There was no difficulty in it. The business we were in, it's a tough business. It's not an easy business. And, when stuff would fly apart, like in one of the mines or whatever, you could be sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner and you get a call and it's like, you better get out here right away. We need this. And, it's what you had to do. And so through the so many years that we were in business, there comes a point in time when it might be nice if somebody else takes the baton and charges forward. There's so much gas that you have for that type of environment. And after a while, after that many years, you can tend to get a little burned out, even with the key people, like I talked about the good people that we had. When the defecation's hitting the oscillation, my office door would still come open and, hey, Dave, what are we going to do about this?
I literally had to walk my way through what that meant.
And that entire answer to me sounds like you got paid enough.
Yeah.
To exit. So,
that was the other key thing, guys, is that, we started planning for retirement day one. Even when we weren't making any money, when we were living hand to mouth, there was what money could go into retirement went into retirement. And we followed through with that. That was kind of our philosophy with the employees too. That could maybe be another conversation, but they had retirement too, because it's one thing that we agreed upon is that we didn't want to see our employees become 60 years old someday and there's nothing for them.
Yeah, those are all the marks of really good business owners. When you look at having the exit strategy from the beginning, having the operating agreement, the buy-sell agreement, and looking at how you're going to take care of your employees. And in all honesty, a lot of companies don't do that anymore. That's not common, which I'm sure you know. So we're going to start to wrap up. We want to know if you have any advice that you would give to small business owners today on things, just something they can do to help prepare themselves for exit.
Well, I think that if you have, if you're fortunate to have a couple of employees that are real key, I think it's a good thing to work with them. It gives them some additional incentive if, they're good employees. And the other thing, it's, they get some skin in the game and they get something out of it in the end run too, you have to think ahead. You have to be this living, breathing thing that we call a business. You've got to be looking ahead 10, 15 years down the road of where you want to be, where, if that's when you want to exit, and start planning 10, 15 years ahead of time. Because I can't imagine being at the end run and have to put this together in a couple of years. And you just can't. You're going to have to sell out to a competitor or private equity or liquidate.
Yeah, we see that with people that we talk to as well, small business owners that we've spoken to who are ready to sell, but they want to sell, but they haven't done any of the work up front to be able to get to that point. And they think let's just do a valuation. And we're like, well, there's a whole lot of things you're going to want to do before then to make sure that you're going to get the most money possible out of this business that you've just spent your entire adult life pouring your heart and soul into.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, David. This was a really good conversation and one that I'm sure our listeners are going to benefit from. So thanks to our listeners as well. And you can get all the information on exit strategies in our show notes.
Yes. And you can connect with us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, probably like a dozen others. I don't even know, but find us. It's on our websites. We are at sbpace.com and bizquickpodcast.com.
Yep. And while you're out there, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. Actually, we're going to say subscribe it, download it, give it a review, like it, and tell your friends and family about it.
Yes. Tell your friends and family. That's very important. You can reach out to us about topics. So on any of those social media sites or websites, whatever it is, you can contact us. Let us know what you want to hear, what you like, what you don't like, and check out the book that we wrote. It is a #1 bestseller on Amazon, and there's a digital companion workbook that you can get from our website.
Yeah, and our book is called Seriously Now What? A Small Business Guide to Disaster Preparedness.
That's important.
And I also wanted to say, for those of you that are following along and listening to our show, if you're on Clubhouse, come and follow me, because I do a lot of small business coaching, and we talk about sales and marketing and all the things that would benefit small business owners. And Clubhouse is new to our social media strategy. I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey.
And this was BizQuik, helping small businesses across America.